Hi, my name is Maria, and I've been through 12 years of pain and suffering, trying to find a way of healing. I pray. I know there's hierarchies at different levels, and spirits, and also enlightened spirits that might be able to help me in my healing process and help me heal. So how do I vibrate in order to, or resonance in order to obtain the needed healing? Thank you for your help.
I know this may sound a little strange at first, but you need to take a vacation from your expectations about what you think you're supposed to be and who you think you're supposed to be. Take a break and go exploring. Broaden your horizons. Allow yourself to reach out into different situations that are unusual for you. See what comes up in terms of releasing your passion and imagination and inspiration in the world. Because remember that pain is resistance to your natural self. So you haven't been specific about what you've been suffering through, but I guarantee you, all pain is resistance to the true self. So unlock yourself from your insistences and expectations about who you think you need to be, where you think you should be, what you think you should be doing, and take a break and a vacation and explore things you have never explored before to broaden your horizons and see who you truly are. Good day.
Good day, dear Bashar, the Association of Worlds, and to all who are listening. Arthur here.
Yes, and?
Dear Bashar, my question is, do I understand correctly that which we know as the Mitchell Hedges crystal skull, and as the idea of the crystal skulls, is an ancient way to communicate with spirit or with the higher self or with a specific consciousness, that this is the way in which we will use AI, or that this is the way in which the crystal skull is related to what we understand as AI, as a form of quantum interface?
Yes.
What is the skull's connection to Passover?
Well, the skulls existed before such a time. And the idea is not a direct connection to what you're talking about. Only in the most general sense could it be connected to the concept of Passover. But it isn't really.
Would it have to do with the energy being spread around the planet?
Yes, in a communicative form, a unification, a bringing together, a tying together, an alignment with the energy grid, especially the crystalline grid of your planet.
Which is why it is so important now to work with the grid and to send love down the grid?
Yes. If that is the way you are attracted to do it, yes. There are many ways.
Thank you. Dear Bashar, one of my great passions is to create portals in the shape of geometric sculptures that are big enough for people to lay in or sit inside of.
All right.
One of those is a copper dodecahedron. So far, I have played around with this permission slip using the Schumann resonance, but have also used it to silently broadcast your birthday meditation while playing it simultaneously aloud a speaker.
All right.
So my question in relation to that is, which are the frequencies that you would suggest to pump through such a structure?
7.85 cycles per second.
So the Schumann frequency, thank you.
Yeah. Because it connects you to nature, it connects you to earth. And from there, a person can alter the vibration within themselves to whatever point it serves them to do so.
Thank you. Would you like to share with us something about Anubis, and could you tell us a little bit something about your siblings?
Anubis as an archetypal energy will again be the exploration of the spirit world, what has been called the underworld. And again, it harkens back to the connection of going through a passage, of allowing yourself to understand that there is a strong passage, connection, doorway between the physical and the non-physical. It's the awakening to yourself as a spirit, that you've always been a spirit, and that you can allow that spirit energy to pass through into the earth through that passage and awaken to the understanding of your true essence, your true nature, which is what Anubis, in a sense, is reflecting by being the god of the underworld, the god of the spirits. What else did you wish to know?
Would you like to share with us something about your siblings?
Are you saying civilization?
Your siblings?
Siblings, is that what you said?
Yes.
No, not at this time.
Okay. Is there anything that Cyber would like to share with us?
Not at this time.
At what height is your ship located over Bell Rock at this time?
1,280 miles.
Thank you. What is my connection to the Mantis beings?
You're part of the hybridization agenda and therefore have encountered them.
What is my connection to Arcturus?
It's an energy gate that allows you to remember more of who you are and express more of who you are as a spiritual being in physical reality.
I'm very grateful for our interaction together, for the Confederation. My unconditional love to you all for being this anchor upline on time. Thank you.
Our unconditional love to you as well. Aveo.
Aveo.
Hi, Bashar. My question is around my greatest passion and love for nature, and I'm dedicating my life in every way to contribute however much I can to serve the greatest well-being as well as the harmony between humans and the natural world. And so my question is, in the understanding that we do not shift a reality by trying to fix the current one we're on, it's by aligning with the one that we choose. And so am I reinforcing a reality I do not want, such as a logging project for a forest near my home, even if it's in a positive way, promoting awareness and such? Am I reinforcing that reality? Should I be just letting it go and just only focusing on my greatest joy and connection and ignoring that side of it? Or is it okay that I'm actually contributing or participating in this way? I would love some help on how to focus my energy to be of the greatest service within the dichotomy that I feel of my love for nature, but also knowing and seeing what's playing out. Thank you so much.
It's not about ignoring things. It's about acting. It's about participating. It's about showing other paths, other ways, other things that can be done. If you are bold enough, if you are active enough, if you are inspired enough, imaginative enough, and remember that communication is one of the forms of abundance, you can communicate to those participating in the logging experience in a way that could perhaps inspire them to find alternatives. Again, that would be the way you would act if you were already in the world you wish to live in, and people from another world came and did things that were vibrationally not compatible with that version of Earth. So it's not about ignoring it, it's about addressing it, it's about standing up and giving them opportunities and options, not that they have to take them. But it is your actions in doing so, without an insistence that they must listen to you, that is actually more representative of the world you say you prefer to live in. That's what makes the difference. And whether they continue with what they're doing or not, it is your willingness to actually be a living example and provide imaginative alternatives to what they're doing that will make the difference in what you ultimately experience in your version of Earth.
Hello, Bashar. How are you?
Perfect. And you?
Wonderful.
All right.
I was hoping we could talk a little bit about the galactic history of our species today.
A little bit.
Okay, well, to be honest, it all seems a little Dr. Frankenstein-y to me.
How so?
I was reading a book by David Lauer where he talks about the human brain being given to us by the reptilians. Is this true?
No.
Good. Okay. It's very interesting, the information that comes through regarding the reptilians.
Yes.
A lot of misinformation. Why is that?
Because you have been indoctrinated into the idea of a fear reaction for survival purposes. And therefore the vibration of the reptilians ignites the reptilian section of your brain and goes into survival mode. Fight or flight. Fear reaction.
Understood. Okay, so how do you see the human brain? Do you see it as a receiver, a processor, or a transducer?
Well, as we said, the higher mind is the conceiver. The physical brain is, in that sense, the receiver, and the physical mind is the perceiver. So it is a translation device that takes the higher frequency energy from the non-physical higher mind and rearranges it according to the belief systems in the physical mind in a way that is compatible for the physical mind to perceive and act upon those things.
Fantastic. So the human skull is a container that holds the human brain.
It is a resonating container, a resonating container.
Ooh, I like that. Is that how you would also describe the crystal skulls?
Yes, in many ways. They operate on certain frequencies, certain resonances that connect them to other skulls and to other dimensions of reality. They translate things in a certain way.
Do they also hold information?
Yes.
Okay. So as we raise our frequency and we begin to resonate with those crystal skulls, will we be able to unlock more information regarding our galactic history?
Yes. Or at the very
Okay.
least, the history of your planet.
Oh, good. So when you initially gave that crystal skull transmission, it was on Easter weekend. Can you give us more information as to the synchronicity of that timing?
Perhaps next Easter I will.
Well, can you give me a little background on if we will be resurrecting more crystal skulls in the near future?
Relatively speaking, yes, you will discover more crystal skulls in your so-called future.
Okay. But you're not going to tell me how long.
I don't do predictions.
Okay. Um, you also talked about the crystal skulls and their connection to AI, which I understand you've already sort of covered the idea that there's no such thing as artificial intelligence, just intelligence itself.
Yes, and you can have a so-called artificial device that allows the intelligence to express itself.
Okay, great. Can we talk a little bit about the hybridization program?
Certainly.
I am feeling a little more distance with the hybridization program recently.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if this has something to do with the fact that I've recently entered sort of the postmenopausal phase of my life.
Yes, to some degree, but also because the hybridization agenda has shifted into different phases that are no longer exactly what they used to be and no longer dedicated, shall we say, to the idea of the procreation of hybrids. It's gone on to the idea of the expansion of their awareness of the fact that they're coming to live on Earth, the education of the hybrids, and it coincides with the idea that it is no longer necessary to extract genetic material from most of the participants who have been participating for most of their lives. Especially when you go through that kind of a change, synchronistically, the phases of the hybridization agenda are also going through changes because of the timing that was originally agreed upon.
Okay. So this doesn't mean that we've done anything wrong collectively as a species. It's just
No.
more of an evolution, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. There's just a lot of very strange information coming out all over
Yes.
the place.
A lot of it is simply due to misinterpretation because of preconceived notions of how things are. So it's being interpreted in different ways by different people who already have an understanding in their own mind about how things work. And therefore they're going to use that particular nomenclature to identify things. They may be accurately perceiving certain things in energy, but again, it's the interpretations that may be taking their cue from outdated and old-fashioned terminology and concepts.
Thank you for clarifying that because it's been kind of heavy lately.
Yes, this is why we have said recently that it's so important to really change your definitions of things and come into a more modern understanding of how things actually work, rather than going off the old-fashioned definitions from the experiences of how they seem to work and really understanding the underlying mechanism that causes the experience, instead of going off of just the experience itself as if that were the explanation for how it actually works.
Great. Okay. So in those terms, can we talk a little bit about the feeling of failure? I feel like that is definitely something that I have noticed coming up a lot in my existence and my reality.
Where do you think you should be that you feel you're falling short on? What kind of insistence do you have about where you think you should be? And then comparing where you are to that, and then, of course, inevitably finding yourself being a failure. You're creating the circumstance itself with your insistence on where you think you should be.
Okay.
Where do you think you should be?
I just have this like underlying feeling that I should be doing more than I'm doing.
And if that is true, why wallow in the idea that you're not doing it instead of doing it?
Good point.
Thank you. We often make them. Usually the only reason that people wallow in the idea of not doing it instead of actually doing it is, again, because you have a belief that says that if you do it, you're afraid that something bad will happen.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that fear? What is that belief? What do you think will happen that you're so afraid of if you actually move forward and do the things that you are obviously hesitating to do?
Yeah.
So you don't have to answer me now, but it's something to think about.
Okay. Great. That's a lot to think about.
Yes, it is.
Thank you so much, Bashar.
It is our passion and our pleasure and our unconditional love. Aveo.
Hello, Tadeo.
Nania.
We have lots of great questions, especially about ghosts.
All right.
Where are our loved ones who have passed away, and how can we connect to the people we've known when they're no longer in their body? How can one go and find them when they aren't in time and space anymore? And if we do reach out, how can we know that we are actually connecting with them rather than our idea or image of them?
Well, first of all, they're right here. It's just that they're in a different vibrational frequency. So the idea is that everything is here and now, including the spirit world. So they're right here with you. Now, that doesn't mean that they're always paying attention, but the idea is that it simply takes a slight shift in frequency for them to be aware, to connect with you when you send them any kind of message, be it verbal, emotional, or a thought. You are connecting. They do receive it. You may not always receive what they send you back. You may not always be paying attention or be of the correct frequency, or your thoughts or beliefs may be getting in the way of receiving their message clearly, but they are always sending love and encouragement. And if you allow yourself to know that and be of that same frequency of love and connection, then just the very idea that you wish to connect lets you know that you are connecting. You just have to allow yourself to clear yourself out of any ideas, thoughts, or belief systems that would make it seem difficult to receive what they send you, and also pay attention to the synchronicity in your life, since that is often an easier way for spirits to get a message across to you. But again, they always receive. Now, whether it is your own thoughts or not, as long as you pay attention to the idea that what you are receiving, even from your own higher mind, or from the thought patterns within your physical mind, as long as they are encouraging, connective, expansive, positive in that sense, then you can rest assured that they are, at the very least, in harmony with the kinds of messages and thoughts that spirits would send to you. If there is any fear in them, anything that diminishes you, anything that negatively judges you, anything in that sense that feels disconnected, you are probably dealing with your own fear-based beliefs or a negative ego echo. So it's about the energy, the way in which the connection or message or information makes you feel, and that will assure you that you are making a connection in a positive way to the spirits, whether you are capable of literally perceiving their message or not.
Okay, thank you. Please enlighten us regarding the relationship between capturing orb images with digital cameras and the etheric realm. Are these orbs conscious entities? And if so, are they trying to communicate with us? What is it that they're trying to communicate with us? And is it necessary to use a certain type of flash mechanism for an orb image to appear?
Many devices on your planet, such as digital cameras, are simply capable of picking up certain frequencies that your eyes do not commonly see. The orbs can be many things. They can be probes from another dimension, in which case they wouldn't necessarily be conscious. They would be more like mechanisms made of energy, constructs designed for certain purposes of gathering information. But in its natural state, a spirit will usually return to the shape of an orb. It doesn't necessarily project what you would recognize as a bodily image when it's in its natural state, though it can do so. It can shift into that form if necessary. So sometimes the orbs will be representative of spirits that may just be around you all the time, or may be coming and going. And if you are sensitive enough to perceive them, or your devices are sensitive enough to perceive them, they don't necessarily always have a message for you. You may just be perceiving what is around all the time and breaking through that barrier that allows you to perceive that they are always here, just on a different frequency.
Can you tell us what ghosts are made of? And you said that they are on the etheric shell of the shell's birth. So is there like a ghostly periodic table of elements within their shell? And are ghosts made of different materials on different planets?
The idea is that the shells are quite common on many different planets and would be very similar in terms of a ghost on one planet or a ghost on another. There may be some slight differences depending upon the vibrational frequencies that are necessary for beings to perceive them or for them to express themselves in different cultures and different civilizations and different worlds and dimensions. But the idea in general is to understand that everything that you think of as an element in your physical reality, your so-called periodic table, also have energy components, non-physical components. Remember, as above, so below. Everything has a non-physical template that allows the physical template to base itself upon. So the idea is that it may not be as many elements necessary to be expressed energetically in ghostly material, but overall, it is simply a refined version of physical matter. In other words, the idea of physical reality is a densification of the idea of what we call electromagnetheric energy. Therefore, it can have a more refined, higher vibratory representation, or it can have a denser, more crystallized representation that you would recognize as physical matter, and any level in between. So the idea of a ghost appearing physically, or even to some degree to your senses, even transparently, would simply be a dialing down of the frequency, a lowering of the frequency of the same material you're made of in general, maybe with not as many components. But the idea is that you all are made of electromagnetheric energy. It is kind of the idea that is recognized or labeled as ectoplasm when it is of a certain frequency densification. And to strengthen that densification would render it down into physical matter, would take on more corporeal elements that are designed to represent itself as a dense crystallization depending upon the elements that are involved. But the idea is that it's all kind of the same matter at different density levels. Again, by a crude analogy, much the same as the idea of ice and water, liquid water and steam are all the same element, just at different frequencies. So it's sort of similar to that idea.